Good morning, it's April 1st. This is an actual walk. It's not an April Fool's walk. Well, it is an April Fool's walk. It's not an April Fool's joke. I'm a little unfocused this morning, so I'm not exactly sure where we're going to end up, but we'll start by crossing Albert Street and getting over to the park side. I think I'm going to walk along, let's avoid those guys. I think we're going to walk along sort of parallel to College and partly along College and over to Broadway, which I haven't been to yet, maybe down to Winnipeg and back, and I might even end up downtown because I do have some pills to pick up at the drugstore, so it's going to be that kind of a walk. Very nice today. It's +5, I think, as I set out. So the snow is rapidly disappearing. After starting out yesterday at -17, temperature went up to +6 or 7 yesterday. It's supposed to be even warmer today. So I'll probably be unzipping my coat before long. No hat, no gloves. Knees feel pretty good. They're always a little sore when I start. Very sunny. If you're watching this on Kickstarter or on YouTube, you can leave a comment and hopefully I'll see it, depending on where the sun is, how it's shining on my face. So let's see, Kickstarter. Pretty good day yesterday, up to 84% now, with 1 week to go as of noon today. So that's 2,300 and a bit Canadian left to go to fully fund. If you haven't funded this, or you don't even know what I'm talking about because this is the first time you've watched one of these, I'm running a Kickstarter right now to fund an anthology which will feature short stories by authors who were guests during the second year of my podcast, The World Shapers, my Aurora award-winning podcast. And that's going on right now. The goal is 15,000. It'll have 24 stories in it, 18 original stories, 6 reprints from some of the biggest names in the field. People like Barbara Hambley, Nancy Kress, Carrie Vaughn, S.M. Sterling, Kelly Armstrong, to name just a few. And it's a follow-up to a book I kickstarted last year called Shapers of Worlds, which featured first-year guests. That one only had 18 stories, so this one will be bigger. I won't say better, because it was an awfully good one last year with really good authors, but it will definitely be thicker if it funds. So if you go to Kickstarter, you can search up Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, or you can go to tinyurl.com/Shapers of Worlds 2, Arabic numeral 2, and that will take you to it. Sort of the basic level is $20, which gets you an ebook of the anthology, and then it goes up from there. $35, I think, is the level at which you get the trade paperback, plus shipping for that. So it ends up at in Canada or the US, that ends up as $55. Lots of great backers rewards, signed books, book plates, audio books, all sorts of things. So check it out, please. Give me money. The money goes to the authors, basically. That $15,000 will just cover the cost of production. And then, of course, it'll be available commercially. And that's when more money, hopefully, finally comes to me to pay for my time and effort. But the joy of just putting out the book is really very exciting, to putting out an anthology with these kind of authors in it. So, I mean, last time I had Joe Haldeman in it, and there's somebody I've been reading since I was a teenager. It was amazing to me to think that I had published an anthology. It was a reprint of his Hugo Award-winning short story from 1976 called Tricentennial. We'll cross here as usual. We'll go a different path when I get over there. This is the Albert Street Bridge, if you haven't been with me before. It's Saskatchewan Legislative Building in the distance. Across the street is what's called Speaker's Corner, which has some hardware from some lamps and things from Hyde Park in London. This is a very long light. There it goes. This time we will walk up Albert in this direction to start with. If you're there on Facebook or YouTube, leave me a comment. I should see it. Right now I can see the screen pretty good. One of our long, straight sidewalks. Nice that at least it has trees between you and the road. Yesterday when I was walking along Saskatchewan Drive, the sidewalk is right up next to the road and cars go down there pretty fast, two abreast. So I got off of that as quick as I could. Nice houses over here in part of Albert Street. On this beautiful April 1st day. And of course over here is the park. Looking a little brown and gray. But we'll get there. I'm hoping that yesterday was my last walk in the snow. But we'll see. No guarantees when you're in Saskatchewan in the spring. We had 2 snowstorms last week. I walked in the snow last Saturday and it was gone by that afternoon. And then another big snowstorm. I actually walked in. If you check out my videos, you'll see that one. I actually walked outside with the wind blowing and the snow falling. I think we'll walk in behind the Royal Saskatchewan Museum here. This is their parking lot. Perhaps not the most scenic part of the walk, but the building ahead of us is the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. Can't tell how my horizon's doing today. I tried to calibrate it, but there's no easy way to do it out of this app, so it's a bit hit or miss. Already unzipping my coat. Of course, it's warm on the parking lot. This end of the building is an auditorium where I've performed many times or watched performances. Regina Music Festival, where my daughter performed yearly for many years, had their musical theater classes, which is what she was performing in, or singing in here. And I've done shows in there as well with Regina Lyric Singers, which is a choir or chorus with under the umbrella of Regina Lyric Musical Theater that does concerts. And there is something coming up there. We've got Flip the Script, which is a gender-swapped Broadway song. Looking the other way, that's the park across from the museum here. That's coming up, I don't remember the dates, sometime in May. We're shooting it sometime in April. I don't know what the current round of restrictions will mean to that, if they have to reschedule or not. We're a bit of a COVID hotspot in Regina, so our restrictions are more. Here's the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. You see that not particularly attractive metal door. There was a very nice door there, which was heavily damaged when somebody drove a car into it, apparently trying to break in. Don't know what they thought they were going to steal. So I presume they're working on replacing it, but that's a temporary door there now. Hello, geese. Lots of geese to say hello to. And then side of the building has this really nice relief of wild waterfowl on this side. Up here there's a peregrine and others. It's really a lovely building, and of course it's in Tyndall stone. Tyndall stone is a limestone. And if you look at it, you can often find fossils in it. Almost always you can find a few fossils. Let's see if I can find one. Nothing leaping out at me, but I'm sure there's some in there. Well, so I think even the pattern is like worm tracks or something. When you see anything kind of interrupting it, it's usually a fossil of some sort. Oops, a lot of buildings use that around here. I think it actually comes from Manitoba, not from Saskatchewan, but Tyndall, Manitoba, I think is where it gets the name from. Ooh, warm up against that too. Oh, there's somebody who said hello. Hello. Miriam? Yeah, Miriam. I had to find a shaded place. Miriam on YouTube. Thanks for popping in. I like Canada too. Not from here originally. I'm an immigrant from the States. When I was 8 years old, we moved up here from Texas. I was born in Silver City, New Mexico, way down close to the Mexican border. Mining town. My parents were actually living in an even smaller town called Bayard, Bayard, at the time, but the hospital was in Silver City. My dad was preaching in the Church of Christ there. And then from there, we moved to Texas, and Dad taught at Lubbock Christian College in Lubbock, Texas for a few years. And then we moved to Tulia, it's a small town in the Panhandle, for a couple of years. He was teaching in the public school. And then he got an offer to come to Canada to teach at Western Christian College, which was then in Weyburn, North Weyburn actually. Former Commonwealth Air Training Command base is what our buildings were. And that's what brought us up here, and then they stuck. And so did I. So lived in Saskatchewan ever since, except for going to university in Arkansas. Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. Oh, hi, there's my friend from Calgary. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your first name. Boing. Thanks for joining. It's good to be seen. I think what I'll end up walking across the grass if I do what I'm thinking of doing. But we're gonna walk, so I think I'll stay on the road, but instead of walking down that way. So this is a brand new building. It's a credit union building, and it was through an agreement with them that Dark Hall over there and the whole college campus Conservatory of Arts, Performing Arts building there, which was the original Regina College building. It's all been renovated and spruced up. This part's brand new. Dark Hall, which is the next building down, is a wonderful auditorium, and now it's being refurbished, so it'll be useful. It had the same seats in it as when it was built, which made for uncomfortable seating. I haven't really walked on this side this close to the building before. This was just empty space here. They built this building, and it has a joint lobby space now with a Dark Hall. And over here, of course, is the park. So there were some people who were against building this building because they don't think anything should be built in the park. But what was here before was nothing special. Just a patch of grass and a couple of trees. And now we have this nice building, and the conservatory building is really nice, what was done to it. And landscaping and so forth is happening over on this side now. So, haven't been in there yet. No reason to go. For some reason, this thing's feeling heavier today, so I'm going to switch hands. I carried my left hand for a while. Yeah, if you go down there, it's just more parking lot. So we'll stick to the road here. I should probably go on the sidewalk side. Oh, I think the sidewalk ends pretty soon. We'll go over there anyway. Just be a good little pedestrian. Oh, actually, I got a better idea. Pardon my slightly erratic wandering. There's a path over here we can take. And it is we, because I know at least 2 people have tuned in live. Haven't seen anybody from Facebook yet, but a couple from YouTube. I know my wife is watching, at least I think she is. So that's at least 3 people. This tree is bigger than it used to be, but right here is where we used to cast photos when we did shows at Dark Hall. That's the back of Dark Hall over there. We'd come out here and line up and have a cast photo taken right here in this, around this little circular area. Were flowers in it. I don't know what's there now come flower season. I think there were. It's been a while since we did anything at Dark Hall. We shifted over to the University Theater. Or geese. And started doing shows there. The last show I did with Lyric Big Show was the Addams Family, where I played Lurch. All right, now we'll go to the sidewalk on the other side again, which was a fun role because it had no lines to memorize. It was all I said, except for the last number that I sang. And I mentioned yesterday when I was talking about acting, the best thing about that role was that because I had to hit a low note in the last song that could be heard, my voice needed to be kind of rougher. And Rob Urson, the director, would give me a little hairline-sized bottle of scotch to drink at intermission to roughen up my voice. And it actually did help me hit those low notes. Or not hit them, but have the quality where they might be heard. Since we weren't mic'd, there were some area mics, but we weren't wearing mics. Walking along the park, over there's the observatory building. Morning. Our geese. Pretty soon there will be baby geese, and then there will be teenage geese. Gangly teenage geese. They grow up so fast when you're a goose, like over the summer, because by fall they have to be ready to fly. All right, switch hands again. Really lovely. Oh, lots of grass, and then there's the lake just over there beyond the screen of trees. This will be all green eventually. Still some snow clinging to the shadows, freshened up by the snowfalls we've had the last couple of days.
I swear, I see it in her eyes. She's sleeping.
Got some writing done on The Tangled Stars, my next novel for Doll Books, yesterday. I'm really moving a lot slower on it than I thought I would and should be. I think the Kickstarter is really interfering with that and not being able to go out to write. Oddly enough, I'm less productive at home than if I can go somewhere, like a coffee shop or somewhere. And I can't really do that right now. But it's interesting what I am doing at the moment, without going into the whole plot again. But basically at this point, my characters need to steal an old starship, which has been mothballed and put into a museum. It's a museum piece, although it's still fully functional because it's operated by an artificial intelligence that has kept it up all this time. And it's been decades since these things were usable because the sort of wormhole network that allows interstellar travel in my universe collapsed. And now it's reopened, or at least one end of it has popped open in Earth, and there my characters want to get into that wormhole and see what's out there. And also my main character is trying to escape an organized crime boss, so there's that going on too. And there's the parking lot where Shards of Excalibur begins, that I've mentioned before, my young adult section series. Then anyway, so they need this starship, and I decided that the museum that it's at is one I've been to, which is the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. And one reason I thought of that museum, well, one thing, it's only about a few hundred feet inland from Lake Michigan, and I want the starship to be on kind of a floating barge. And the other reason is that if you go there, there is a U-boat in the basement. It's captured during the Second World War. It had an Enigma machine on it, which is also on display there. So it's a huge surprise. I mean, you kind of know it's there, but the impact of going into that space and seeing it is quite impressive. Is there another note here? Looks like Canada has a lot of beautiful trees. Well, it does. Although it's worth noting in Regina, where I am, that every single tree was planted by hand, because we're in the middle of the prairies. So there's not a natural tree in the city, except for those that might have sprung up from those that were planted earlier. It was a bare, treeless plain when people first settled here. There might have been some willows, bushes, really, not trees. Down along the creek, there probably were. But all the rest of this was just bare plain, bare prairie. So Regina has, let's see, I worked for a few months as communications officer for the city, filling in for somebody on adoption leave. And I think it was something like 250,000 trees in Regina, but every single one was planted by somebody. Except, as I said, we have one growing in our backyard that shouldn't be there, so they do spring up themselves once you have enough of them around. But originally, anyway, they were all planted by somebody. But our park back there that I'm leaving now is largest urban park in North America. It's bigger than Central Park, New York. So anyway, in my book, my characters are now at the Museum of Science and Industry. One of my characters, with some secondary characters, is now at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, planning to steal a starship. This is quite a ways in the future, so I can play with the layout of the museum. Have additional buildings and stuff. But I didn't actually have her go into the main museum. The main museum there is from the Chicago World's Fair from 1889, was it? The core of it is. Those buildings are temporary. They just had kind of a temporary cladding on them, but because this particular building, the Beaux-Arts building, had major works of art in it on display, it had a proper steel and concrete core. And in the 20s, they replaced the temporary cladding with limestone. So what you see is not really what was there at the time of the World's Fair, but it looks like what was there at the time of the World's Fair, except now it's much more permanent. I came down this way so we can kind of walk down this little side street. When I first moved to Regina, this was just an empty field. That was in 1988, but it was an empty field for many years thereafter too. And it had a community garden in it where people they'd have a plot and could garden. But then that went, and these buildings were built, which have a nice callback to what buildings look like in Regina that were built in the early part of the city's existence. There's little shops and things. Nice coffee shop here, the Naked Bean, that I go into sometimes. Not to write, too uncomfortable. They don't have comfortable enough seats. I think coffee shops deliberately put uncomfortable seats in their coffee shop so people don't sit too long. You can see it's all this kind of brick. Tyndall stone again. And there's condos and things in here too, I believe. Over on the other side. Then when you get down here, it's condos and there's some seniors housing further down. I haven't really walked down in here, so I may get trapped, but I'm gonna go down in here. There's doctor's offices and things here. Apartment buildings, condos, all that sort of thing. And this was all just empty land when I first moved here. Over there's the back of a curling rink. So I'll be glad when the Kickstarter's over. Hopefully it funds. So I'll get at least a bit of a break from having to worry about it too much. And hopefully I can finish up my novel. I may kind of disappear from social media because I've been posting so much. Not this though. I'll keep doing this because I like the walk. I like those. Those are I've walked by quite a bit in our area. There's some row houses, much older. These of course are brand new. But they do look nice. It's a nice little development in here. Now, I think this will be a dead end as we get up to the seniors' retirement area up here. But I can go left and probably take me back out to college. College Park, retirement residence, open for tours daily. I don't think they want me to come in with a camera though. All right, we'll go this way and see where that takes us. There might be a way out at the other end of the parking lot, but I wouldn't want to bet on it, which I would be doing if I walked down there. So, that's a school playground on the other side. I'd be able to get into, but then it'd be wet probably, so we'll stick to sidewalks. So that's the way we came back there. CBC building down at the end, across the street. We kind of walked behind it. Still haven't seen anybody on Facebook. If you happen to be watching, let me know. College Park retirement residence to my right. Some nice little landscaped areas in here. Really have never been down here, certainly not on foot. Might have driven at some point. I could go that way, but that's not very interesting. So I'll keep going this way and see where that takes me. Might end up heading downtown and go ahead and go get those pills from the drugstore. It would mean the screen going black for a few minutes while I did that. Shouldn't interrupt the stream if I do it right. If it does, I just start a new stream. Maybe edit them together later. So let's see, because I've been turned back to go this way, that might be what I do. Oh, well, maybe I can go that way. This was St. Chad's, now condominiums. I can go this way, so I can keep going the way I was going. And it's a pretty little walk. New building here, and then an old building there next to it. There is ice here, but not too much. This is College Avenue again up here. I'm working up a sweat, just thought you'd like to know. I did walk down here once when it was still snowy, just along College though, not doing this zigging in and out of things. This is Capel House, and this is still what it has long been, which is the Diocese of Capel offices for the Anglican Church of Canada. There. And then this building here is an older retirement seniors center. Used to know somebody who was in there, so I've been in there a few times. I think I may have sung or done a reading or something in that little glassed-in area there. Probably sang. Don't really remember, but I know I've been in there, and I did something. How is my horizon? Also relates, of course, to how I hold my hand, so it's not entirely the gimbal. If it goes wonky, I could be the one that's wonky rather than the gimbal. Some nice houses. That's a particularly nice one over there that's been on the it's in my book, Historic Walks of Regina. Wish I could tell you more about it. I've been in it. It was on the Davin School home tour, which I've mentioned before, where you get to go into interesting houses that people put on the tour to raise money for Davin School, as I will continue to call it, although they've changed the name to Crescent School. And that's the school that's just in behind our house. So my wife was very involved with that tour for many years and used to go on the tour for the volunteers the night before the actual tour. They're doing something to Balfour School here. It's got fencing all around it. Balfour features prominently in my book, the Song of the Sword, first book in the Shards of Excalibur series, and I guess in the second one it's there too. Well, I think that's the last time they're in there. It's not called Balfour, I call it Oscana Collegiate because I needed to make some changes to it, like most importantly putting in an indoor pool, because my character has the power of the Lady of the Lake, here I am, and can travel through water, but she has to have water deep enough to materialize in to get to her destination, so they needed a swimming pool in here. But this is the school that I just renamed Balfour Collegiate. And then right next to it is the Catholic high school, which had a daycare in it. That was our daughter's first daycare. Martin? I should know, but last time I was in there was for an improv games, because my daughter was in improv. In fact, her team from Luther College High School placed second in the country at the improv games 2 years ago in Ottawa, which was exciting for all of us. We thought they should have played first, of course, but no, they didn't. Well, I've gone this far, I might as well go all the way to Winnipeg and then head back. Not Winnipeg, the city. Not walking that far. Winnipeg, the street. It's the Catholic school here. That sun is feeling very warm now. I have me looking for the shade to walk back. I'll just go up one block, I think, and walk back along 15. This, nothing happens inside this school in the Shards of Excalibur, but something happens behind it in the tennis courts of Redler Major importance in Twists of the Blade, the second book in the series. And Ariane, my character, lives just a block further on the next street over. But I don't think I'll walk over there today. Yes, Miller. There used to be a Martin, then there's Miller. Okay, so we will cross College here. And start wending our way back in the general direction of home. I don't technically have a walk light, but I've got a green light. This is Winnipeg Street. Now, if I'm going downtown, I could go all the way up to Victoria, or even one more, which might be interesting. And now I'm feeling like, while I'm out, I might as well go pick up my pills. I'll probably make this one of my longest walks by the time I do all that. And again, once I get to downtown, there will be a pause. And I turn off the microphone and the camera while I go into the mall. And then I'll pick it up again when I come out. But that's still some time away. And on YouTube, I'll probably edit out for the permanent version. I'll edit out some of that. The live stream happens, but then I post the high-def non-buffering version that's stored on the phone to YouTube later, because I know, and I have no way of knowing when it's happening on my end, if somebody tells me, I know there's buffering and whatever I'm saying will be lost and there'll be a jump in the image. And it doesn't just happen to me. The guy that inspired this, whom I'd like to mention, Walking Commuter, whom you can also find on YouTube, and who has thousands of people watching him walks around Manhattan, and even in Manhattan he runs into buffering issues. So I think I'll just go on up to maybe even 12th or even 11th to walk downtown. That would take me by the old fire hall if I go down 11. Or I'll start in Victoria and zigzag up to 11. They're one of the older neighborhoods. You can tell by the big old trees still with us. Someone asked me about banding, why some of the trees have bands around them. And more of them will when people do it shortly. It's there's kind of two things. The main one is cankerworms, which are the larvae of a type of moth. And the females are flightless. So in order to lay their eggs in the trees, they have to crawl up the trunk. So you put a band around there. It's usually fiberglass insulation with plastic on it, duct taped to the trunk, and then with axle grease or something similar. I think there's actually special stuff that they use too sometimes, smeared on it. And when the females try to crawl up the trunk, it prevents them from getting up to where they need to be, so they don't lay their eggs, and so the trees aren't full of little worms which eat the leaves and then bungee jump out of the sky onto your head as you walk by on little silken threads. They're very annoying, and they mess up cars and things. There's the police, who hopefully will stop with a stop sign. I thought I should probably not point the camera at them. Now, having said that, I don't actually see any banded trees. Oh, there's one over there, but people around here have been pretty good about either they've never banded these trees or they've been taking them off We should take ours off, but they were there all winter, which really isn't great. The other thing they help prevent is tent caterpillars, which I presume is the larva of another kind of moth, which, fill the tree leaves with that webbing that you see sometimes. This is Regina Senior Center. I directed a show in there once with senior citizens, which was an interesting experience because, line memorization was a problem and mobility was a problem, but we had fun. They had fun. That was a long time ago now. The last time I came this way, I went down 13th to go back. But this time, because I'm headed downtown, we'll go up into new territory for one of these walks. If you're still watching. Haven't seen a comment for a while. I still haven't seen anybody from Facebook. A couple of YouTube comments, which disappear, by the way. If I don't see them when they're on the screen, they're not there when I look later. It's not like the comments on the uploaded videos. St. Mary's Church here. I've never been in that one, but I can remember. An interesting modern steeple. I guess it was built in the 60s, I would think. Might be the 50s even, with that look. Okay, Victoria Avenue coming up next. I've been pretty pleased with the sound on these things. All I did for wind was to put a little bit of cotton stuck on an end of tape. The tape's taped down on one end so the cotton rests on the microphone hole. And it seems to work quite well, actually. The other option is a external mic with a windsock on it, but I haven't noticed any fire engine. I haven't noticed any real serious audio problems even when I was walking in a howling wind in the snowstorm the other day, so I don't think I'll spend the money. Not unless I start to get 6,000 viewers like Gabe, the walking commuter, who inspired all this. He makes money at it. That would be nice, but I don't see it happening walking around Regina. We've seen a guy who walks in Seoul, Korea, some in Europe, people in Toronto, so there's lots of these kind of walking live streams around. And I am one of them. All right. This is Victoria, one of the busier roads. Used to connect directly to the Trans-Canada, but now that, well, it still does, but there's a bypass now. So that traffic didn't really come down here, but it did out east, and the bypass has reduced the truck traffic out there where there's lots of stores and stuff. At least it's supposed to have. We're gonna go up 2 more blocks and then walk down 11. This is Winnipeg, also a fairly busy street. And nothing between you and the street except the curb, so I'll stick to the left side of the sidewalk. What I worry about are the mirrors on passing vehicles, especially the bus. You gotta watch out for those things. You stand too close to the curb as they're pulling up and you could get clobbered by a mirror, which would really ruin your day and probably your life. So it's only fun until someone gets hit by a bus. Maybe else. Not the most scenic part of town, I admit. Next is 12th. Maybe I'll get off Winnipeg, go down 12th and then zigzag up to 11th. I do want to walk by the old fire hall though on my way downtown. Everything looks brown and the roads are really dirty because all the snow had dirt in it. When that melted, all the dirt and all of the litter that was in the snow comes out. So you can see downtown in the distance there as we turn back towards it here on 12th. I want to change to the other side here in a minute. How long have I been walking so far? Yeah, this will be a long walk by the time I'm done. But it's a lovely day. We will cross. And I think we will go up to 11th. As we continue towards downtown. Still some snow lingering. That last storm wasn't that much snow, but because of the wind, it did make some sizable drifts, and of course, they take longer to melt. And there's still a little bit of snow clinging from the main part of the winter in the shade. Our backyard still has sun. It doesn't get much sun at all. Careful on the slush. Eleventh is a little more commercial. Small businesses along here. A nice little park here. Brown, but still. With the sculpture on the corner. Sculpture and lamp. Fellinger's over there is a long-time butcher shop. Been there a long time. I don't know if I've ever noticed this particular structure on the corner here, this lamp. Oh well, might as well walk along the park path. It's going in our general direction. Now, this is all new territory to me, as well as to the walk. The park goes on quite a ways. Good size. There's a playground. There should be a name somewhere. You can see downtown rising ahead of us. Looming is kind of a strong word for as short as our buildings are. But they're taller down there than they are elsewhere. Heritage Community Association. There we go. Core Community Park. That's what this is. There's usually these, all the parks have these kind of signposts on the corner. And carrying on. Old church over there. I don't think it's a church anymore. I remember it was on my walk, but I don't know what it was. That one over there, probably Orthodox from the Onion Domes. All our streets along here are named by cities. So this is Toronto Street. There's a Halifax Street, Winnipeg, of course, St. John, other Canadian cities. I know what that building is. It's pretty new. Doesn't have an obvious sign on it. Pretty sure it wasn't there when I did my historic walks. Could be a school, daycare, I don't know. It's too small to be a school. A lot of buildings have had murals painted on them, not a lot, but some. And a big blank wall like that. Not much to say down here because I haven't been down here very often on foot. Except when I did the historic walks book, because I took a picture of everything on it. So I went down a lot of these streets where there were interesting buildings and took photos. That was in the middle of the winter, so I was wading through snow sometimes. You can still find that book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw. It was published by Red Deer Press, which was part of Fitzhenry and Whiteside. And it's a bit out of date. Some of the buildings have been torn down since then. But obviously the history behind the ones that are still there is still there. And at least they're, although they're not all in the book, I do have a photo of every single building on the tour. And for years I thought I should make a website. And for years I have not done it, because it's a huge undertaking. This is our Chinatown. If you look, you can see that the streets signs have both Chinese and English on them. For historical reasons, there were a lot of Chinese immigrants here at one point. And you can see there's still a fair number of stores and restaurants with an Oriental connection. Like the grocery up here on the corner. That's a good one over there. That building is, I don't remember what it is, but it's in my, I'm going to cross over because I want to walk by first fire hall there and show you this one over here too. Right, Municipal Justice Building. I couldn't remember the name, but it's a lovely old building. And I think it's getting a second wind. I don't remember the details, but there was some news about it. Actually, before I decide I'm going to go get my pills, I should see if I have a mask with me. Do I have one? Yes, I do. So I should be able to go in and get my pills. This is the old number 1 fire hall here. Not a fire hall anymore. There used to be a great coffee shop over there called the Artful Dodger. I did shows, sang, and had an art gallery in there. It closed a while ago now. So here comes downtown. That's actually the tallest building in town right there, the Hotel Delta. There was going to be a taller one, but it never got built. Not yet. Well, certainly that one's not being built. So we'll see if anything else comes along here. There's no signs of it right now. 11th here will take me straight down to the Cornwall Centre, which is where my drugstore is. And that's where I will pause and pick it up when I come out. An old hotel over there, the Holiday Inn now, but it's been several things. That long, kind of low, stretchy building. And the towers behind it. Very large Tim Hortons over there. Maybe the largest one in Canada. I don't remember exactly, but it's a big one. Another hotel down there, the Wingate. The original City Hall was kind of right in front of us on this street. It was a beautiful old brick and Tyndall stone building. It was torn down, then there was a mall there for a while, which never really made it, and then that was turned into the government building. The Alvin Hamilton building, I guess. No, actually it's the one closest to us with the Canada on it. That makes sense. It's a pretty generic office building. Considering what the old City Hall looked like, it's a real shame that it's gone. I never saw it in real life, I've just seen pictures. Yes, the Alvin Hamilton building is the government building, and the one beyond that is the Royal Bank. Or a bank, if you need to know, which you probably don't. There's our skyscrapers, such as they are. And again, the Delta over there is the tallest. It's 20 some stories. 20, maybe just 20. City Hall is 17. It's a little shorter, and these towers over here, I think, are still a little shorter than the Delta. One of them, though, that one closest to us, blue one shining up behind the hotel there, has a wonderful rooftop space for receptions and things. Great view of the city. Regina is small enough that when you get to the top of one of these buildings, you can see out to the prairie in all directions. Ouch. All right, getting close to the mall. Another 2 blocks and I will pause this. And if anybody's still watching live, it will come back in a few minutes, hopefully, if all goes well. And if not, I'll just start a new one and edit them together for YouTube later. Still haven't seen anybody from Facebook today. It's a Farm Credit Corporation building there, the FCC at the top. And these geese here are kind of a famous local landmark sculpture. We have a lot of government buildings, being a government town. Capital of Saskatchewan. The building with the copper roof over there is, it's called Old City Hall, but it was actually the second City Hall, the original post office. There's my bank. So we will cut this off very shortly here, if I remember how to do it. Yeah, I do. I will just turn off the camera and microphone for a few minutes. And I think I'll do that right here and pick it up on the other side, here by the Starbucks. So, talk to you. I'll be back. Looks like the camera came on sometime when I didn't know it. So I don't know what's on here now. But anyway, I'm back. You may have seen the inside of my pocket or something, I don't know. I thought I turned it off, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, now we're on Scar Street, heading home. I will edit all that out. If you're watching this on the uploaded version, you won't even necessarily seen anything except a brief fade out and fade back in again. If you're watching it live, if anybody still is, I don't know what that looked like. We're out of geese territory and into pigeon territory here. Was anybody on watching that when it happened live who can say anything? Here's some of the old buildings. It's a nice pedestrian mall down here underneath the towers. And there's shops, and there is a gym here. My gym closed, the Y, downtown Y that I went to. I was doing weights quite a bit, so I may need to look at these once they're back. If they come back. Fat Badger there, which is a pub, looked like it might be gone for good. It's a tough time for restaurants, and they just closed them again after letting them be open for a bit here in Regina. Research I've seen shows very little transmission in restaurants, maybe in bars, people shouting over music and so forth, but not in restaurants. But nobody asked me. This is called, what do they call it? City Center Plaza or something? Bit controversial. It took out this street, of course, for the most part. This is where the farmers market is held when it's outdoors, which is okay. It's very hot on a hot day and very windy on a windy day because of the tall buildings. And there's this artwork out here. You can see City Hall there on the left, the tall building. It's not entirely non-traffic, but you have to go down that way and then come back up that way if you want to go out this end. This little stage is kind of nice for doing things out here. That's where when I did the when I played the original, or not the original, but the guy who was Peter McCarra, his name was, who was the mayor of Regina when the cyclone hit in 1912. That's where I did my reading of the names of the people who were killed in the tornado. That was for the centennial in 2012. As I said before, I had to put on a Scottish accent. I don't know how good it was, but I did my best. You gotta get it back in your throat. That's where the Scottish accent happens. At least that's where mine happens. I can't speak for actual Scots people. If there's any Scots in my family, it's way back, because the Willets, at least, showed up in North America in the 1600s from England. Although, there's, on my mother's side, there were other things, Germans. My grandmother was an Umstadt, French. I have somebody, back there was a Maupin, M-A-U-P-I-N. So the Willett side seems to be largely English, and the other side seemed to have all sorts of different nationalities represented. I like that building. And over here we have the Regina Public Library. I'll stay over here so you can see it. And down the art galleries. This is Lawrence Street. The tornado, the aforementioned tornado in 1912, came right down this street from the lake, destroying as it came, damaged everything along here, including the church on the corner was severely damaged and rebuilt after that. This is the Masonic Hall. I don't even know if the Masons are still here, but that's their hall. And then Knox Metropolitan United Church, Knox Met, which is also a very nice performance space, so lots of concerts are held in there of varying kinds, and I performed in there many times in various ways. And the Carol Festival's held there every year, and lots of stuff. I couldn't even begin to name everything I've done in that building. But the only thing I don't think I've ever done is go to church there. I don't think I've ever been at a service there. Maybe once. In front of us is First Baptist, also a nice building, also a nice performance space, has a dome, gives it a nice ring. And then over there is the Balfour apartment and condo building, which is very nice. We like the look of that one, my wife and I. And as I've said before, we actually looked at a condo in there when we got married, but the lack of indoor parking was a killer. Because we expected that my mother-in-law would be switching places with us, which indeed she did later in the condo we did end up owning. And that building wouldn't have been suitable for her. But it is a lovely apartment building, an older style. It's a nice style to it. Courthouse up there in the other corner. I've usually walked down that side of the street, so. And then this will take us right by City Hall momentarily. There's City Hall coming into view. And when I spent the 6 months in the city's communications department, we were on the 15th floor of this 17-story building. So I had a pretty good view up there. I confess, I was literally the old joke of government employee not looking out the window in the morning because there'd be nothing to do in the afternoon. I felt terribly underutilized during my time with the communications department there. But got to go to the Christmas party and I got some wine glasses. So yay. There was a whole thing I did. It was supposed to be like a trivia thing that was going to go in the newspaper, and I worked on it quite a bit. Nothing ever came of it. There's the front of it if you had to go in to pay a bill or your taxes. And that is a fountain. It's just not fountaining at the moment. I suspect anybody who was watching this live fled long ago. But if you happen to have popped in from Facebook or somewhere or on YouTube and you're there right now, drop me a note. If you're watching the recording, well, thanks for that. Hope you're enjoying this stroll through Regina, one of my longer strolls. They're usually about an hour or a little less, and this one's gone over. And I did stop to buy drugs, prescription drugs, I should perhaps qualify. When the camera was off. No, trust me, that's the kind of drugs I was buying while the camera was off. Prescription drugs. My publisher, Cato Books, that published the aforementioned, long aforementioned at this point in the line, Shards of Excalibur books, used to be in that building, but they're gone. So I got the rights back to those, and they're now available through my own publishing company, Shadowpaw Press, shadowpawpress.com. Both an ebook, and I have a lot of the print books in stock as well, because I picked them up after it was over, after Cato Books was over. At some point I'll put out new Shadowpaw Press print editions, probably, just to, because that would be better. They match my other books, but it's a bit of an undertaking, 5 books, and because there are so many of the existing print copies, I think the ebooks are more important. And people are still finding them. They're not exactly making me rich, but people do find them once in a while. I think they'd make a great TV show. So putting that out there, you know, any TV producers watching this, get in touch. Oop. So some ice hiding here on the, not much sun hits that part of the gas station. There's the, I walked by there yesterday. Used to be a department store, and is now the part of the Terra offices. Used to be Saskatchewan Wheat Pool. We're walking down by Credit Union Central here now, this big brick building to the left. Over there is the Cathedral Social Hall with nice local restaurant and pub. Has a great selection of beer. I hope they're hanging in there, because I've written in there a few times. I'd love to be doing that again right now, but not at the moment. Next hit is Viet Thai, one of our favorite Vietnamese and Thai restaurants. It's both. We order from there quite often when we want something quick and good for takeout. My favorite Indian restaurant is called Caraway, and didn't really walk by it today. It's over on the other side of downtown, close to the railroad tracks. We'll just stay on Albert today, walking this way. Although, I think I can probably cross the street going that way in a minute. Yes, I can. You can see the cathedral down there, poking up. Seems to be at tie. Getting close now, just a few more blocks. There's the Artesian that I mentioned before with the theater space that I performed in, and theater company I used to be on the board of directors of, Golden Apple Theater. That was our main performance space. Over on the other side there is the Penny University Bookstore. They're moving onto 13th, which will be nice, I think. Better location. The trouble with Albert Street is it gets a lot of traffic, which, you know, you think you want a lot of traffic for a store, but the trouble with Albert Street is it gets a lot of traffic. So they shut off on-street parking at 3:30 every day, which kind of cuts into the latter part of your day. It makes it difficult for people to stop, and you don't get that much pedestrian traffic along Albert just because it's noisy and so many cars. So 13th is, I think, will be a much better place for them, and I look forward to when I can, you know, do proper book launches and things there and go in for signings and stuff. It's a nice gallery here, Nouveau Gallery. This is the Cat Cafe. Oh, there's a cat. Hello. Meow. Yeah, I wish I could pet him, but I can't. He's pretty. This is First Presbyterian, where we were married some time ago now. Part of the music was a piece that was written especially for us by my friend Robert Urson that I've mentioned before. He's a great composer, and his wedding present to us was give him a poem and he would set it to music, and we found this lovely love poem, and we set it to music, and one of our friends, a terrific soprano, Diane Burrow, sang it. I think that's the only time it's been sung. We have the music. It's nice handwritten manuscript that he framed for us and gave to us. So it was a really nice wedding present, and a nice wedding all the way around. Got married there, and then our reception was out at the Wascana Country Club, a few miles out of town. Walk out there sometime. We're members, so I could go out there and take a walk around the golf course sometime, as long as I didn't interfere with any golfers. It'll be opening before too long, I think. Bodega, another local restaurant that I hope comes back after the latest shutdown here. And Class Act Studios, where my daughter danced for many years. We used to rehearse lyric singers there, so I've rehearsed in there too. And although they're closed temporarily right now, till after Easter anyway, my daughter's been working there part-time, which is nice, and she danced there so many years. This territory should all be familiar if you've walked with me before. Here's where I buy gas. Very exciting. Away from the noise of Albert Street, we'll cut through the parking lot here, just to be different. Oh, now I've gone into my Irish accent. I think I've done 3 different accents, well 4 actually. I've done English accents, I've done Scottish accents, I've done Irish accents, and I did a Viennese accent, but it was supposed to be bad because the character wasn't even really Viennese. That was in Bells Are Ringing. I did Irish and Who Has Seen the Wind with Persephone Theatre in Saskatoon. Scottish when I did Peter McCara for the Cyclone Centennial. English and a few times in various English plays where it seemed appropriate. One time I didn't do an accent was in a play called Duet for Two Hands, a long time ago now in Weyburn. I was quite young. I was playing a drunken Scottish surgeon, and it was all set in Scotland and England, but none of us did accents except one, Linda Lyon-Wald, who was in the cast, was Scottish. So she sounded Scottish. And the adjudicator's note was that either everybody should have done an accent or nobody should have done an accent. So we had to explain that she really was Scottish, but his point still stood. It was an adjudicated play because we brought it up here for the Provincial Drama Festival, which was in Dark Hall, which we walked by at the beginning of this, at the back. First time I'd been in Dark Hall. And I still remember his comment on me was that I had comedic timing. Unfortunately, this wasn't a comedy. And the thing I remember about it is that the character was a drunk, but his favorite drink was something called whip call, which was malted milk and rum. So I downed every show rather large quantities of chocolate milk, which we substituted for whip call. Remember that. And the other thing the adjudicator said was our set was pink, kind of, not really pink, but that kind of interior pink. And his comment was, if you're setting a play in like a Scottish castle, maybe drawing room pink wasn't the best choice. So all in all, not a terribly successful play from an adjudication point of view, but it was fun to do. It's a big role. It was written by Walter Mills, Haley Mills' father. But that would have been 82, so I was and it was probably in the spring, I was probably only 22 years old, playing a much older character. Used to be, I had to be made up to look old. I think now I'm getting to the point where I'll have to be made up to look younger for some roles, if I keep doing any. Regina Little Theatre is going to do an online cabaret. I'm going to audition for that, I think. And there's the aforementioned Regina Lyric Musical Theatre Flip the Script coming up. I and my wife and my daughter will be in that. And go to reginalyric.com. You can get tickets wherever you are in the world and watch that online when it happens. Almost home. How long have I been walking? I can check here. An hour 24, 34? Can't quite make it out. That is my longest walk. Although if you took out the time I was in the mall, it's not that much longer than some of the others. It's odd, I only had comments from YouTube this time and nobody seems to have commented from Facebook. Ready to be home. Still short of coffee. Must be about 11. Our time? 11:30. Ooh. That was a longer walk than usual. The truck is still sitting there idling, just as it was an hour and a half ago when I set out. few patches of snow on the sidewalk here on this side, and protected from the sun. It won't be much longer. There's the tree banding that somebody asked me about. Okay. Close enough to call it quits, I think. So that was my longest walk ever, with a weird break in the middle. And thanks for watching, whether live or the recording later. See you next time.